sometime.
So the movement was stating there were teachers in our movement. There was a collective consciousness that we're in the Sunday law, pre-July, in July, post-July.
I think we had the understanding that we are in the Sunday law period.
In which month was that?
I can't tell you, but I remember Altatessa's presentation where she says that we are something about that we were just about to walk into the Sunday law period.
I've been saying that for 20 years.
Yes.
Elder Jeff said that for 20 years before me. Elder Tess would have said that for another 20 years until the waymark hit. To say that we're just about, it's round the corner, we don't know how big those corners are.
Elder Parminder?
Who's speaking?
This is Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Oh, before I ask you, so do you get the point I'm trying to make, Lena? That
yes, I do.
If you go back 2022, and Elder Tessie saying the son-in-law is just around the corner, what does that mean? Next week, next year, 5 years?
Yeah, we did not. I don't recall any specific information about that, so I can't tell.
Okay, so I'm not trying to make myself to be anybody or anything, but someone's asked me the question, when do I think the Sunday law waymark is? And I've been pretty skittish about making any statement. And the suggestion is November the 5th was a loud cry.
Yeah, this is definitely not correct. November the 5th cannot be loud cry, but it could be just beginning, you know what I mean, where the Sunday law would be at the November the 5th, the beginning, the swelling begins at the Sunday law, right?
Oh, so you're saying it could be November the 5th here?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got July 18th or November the 5th. Susan.
Well, I'm uncertain now that we just marked November 5th there. But
Lady did that. I'm not me. She did that.
Okay. But what I was thinking, because how it even affected people within the fellowship I worship with, as well as I remember telling family members and neighbors what had just occurred. And that was on July 1st, when the Supreme Court ruled that the executive branch had immunity. For me, that was huge, because that paved the way for Trump to become king. So, and it seemed like everything began to go kind of haywire for individuals within our movement. It was striking.
Could I ask you about that before you move on?
Yes.
So you've mentioned July 1st, and SCOTUS makes a decision regarding the executive branch and immunity. Is that a fair summary of what you've said?
Yes.
So do you think what SCOTUS did was unconstitutional?
Yes.
And was SCOTUS talking about Trump, or was it talking about the executive branch?
Executive branch.
So it's talking about all presidents.
Yes, anybody who would take that office.
And if we were to say the leader of the East Wind, and there's a kill order, which is murder, is that legal for the executive branch to issue a kill order against the leader of the East Wind?
Wow.
Is that legal or not? Or is that,
I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
So if the president says, kill the leader of the East Wind, can someone say, you just committed murder and therefore you need to be prosecuted?
Can you repeat that?
Sure.
Or reword it?
Yeah. So the president, any president, says, we have an enemy that lives over there, and I want to send some of my agents over there to kill this leader. And it's the leader of the East Wind, could be a leader of anything. And when that death sentence is implemented and the person is murdered, because that's what it is, it's murder, has the president committed a crime?
Well, as of July 1st, no.
So when Obama did it, was that a crime? And the president before him and the president after him?
Apparently not.
I'm asking your opinion.
You're taking me to a place I had never even considered, so I'm not sure I can give you the answer.
Okay, that's fine.
On
That's
the
fine.
spot.
So someone goes to the court at whatever period in time, not July 1st, and says the president just executed or signed a death warrant to someone who lives over there. It's going to send his cronies, his agents, to kill that person. And we're going to go to the court and say, is it legal for the president to do that? And they're going to go, let's check with the Constitution. And if to cut a long story short, they're going to say, sure, it's okay. You can go and kill anybody you want to as president of the United States, and you have full immunity to do that. Do you think that's right or wrong?
I think it's wrong.
Okay, so if the person is Hitler, is it now wrong for the president to say, get our secret agents, SEAL Team 6, drop them over to Germany and kill Hitler? You're saying that's wrong, against the law. I'm not asking about your Christian morality. I'm talking about law. Is it wrong for the United States president to send SEAL Team 6 to Germany, Second World War, to kill the leader?
I guess I'd have to say no.
No, is it okay? Is it legal to do it, or is it illegal?
Well, it must be legal.
Okay, I'll stop there. I'm not trying to press you. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's tough.
The judges go back to the Constitution and they say, let's have a check. Under those circumstances, we believe that the law, which is the Constitution, says it's legal to do that.
Well, I suppose the way they are, they can cherry pick their interpretation. So
okay, I went to a simple one, which I hope was simple: Hitler, or the leader of the East Wind, or Pol Pot, or some kind of other crazy dictators in the world. And if the United States leader says, we need to kill that person, someone's going to, in America, is going to say, you can't just do that. You can't go out killing people if you want to. And then someone says, well, let's check with the only place you can check with is the Supreme Court. That's the ultimate checking place. They say, yep, it's within our rights, it's within the rights of the president to do that. And do you think that's fair enough or not?
Well, on so many levels, I'm troubled with the question because I don't think the Supreme Court should have that kind of that ability, but they do.
It's their job.
Yeah, I know. I know. But so if they say it's okay, it's okay.
Who should be doing that checking if not them?
Well, I'm not asking for branches.
I'm not asking for a different branch. I'm asking for, does someone have to check?
I guess no.
No one has to check.
No, they're kind of the final word, aren't they?
No, my question is, does someone have to check? If you and me say, okay, look, we're not sure where the Sunday law is, let's check. Who are you going to check with? Should we be able to check with somebody?
Yes.
Okay, so we agreed that someone should be an arbitrator. So we could say, well, it's not them, it should be someone else. And then the question is, whoever it is, someone has to be have that job function to do, and hopefully we would choose good people to do that. And my understanding is the Constitution says we will select clever judges who have got years of experience, who know their job, who fit certain criteria to do that for us because they're the best qualified. I'm not sure if you're saying that you have a problem with that conceptually.
Well, that's the system that's in place. Yes.
Okay. So if that's a system that we have in place and they say, yep, it's okay to kill your enemies, aren't we saying that's all good? Legal, good, legal. I don't mean we're happy about it.
Yes. Okay.
So then the president says, you know what? The last president, I really disliked him. They badmouthed me, said all these things. When I win the election, I'm going to get that person killed. I'm going to get the FBI on them, kill them. Assassination. And someone said, you can't do that. And then they say, well, let's check with SCOTUS. And what does SCOTUS say if you try to do that? Is it legal or illegal for a sitting president to kill someone in Congress?
Well, honestly,
the July 1st decision, the July 1st decision, what was their answer to that question?
Yes, because he has total immunity. They took all the gloves off.
So you think that SCOTUS said a sitting president can kill the leader of the opposition and get away with it?
Yes.
Because I don't think that they said that.
Don't you believe that immunity gives you total leeway to do as you will?
What I'm saying is, if you dig down into what they actually said, it falls down into two scenarios. One is you kill Hitler, you have immunity. You kill the leader of the Democratic or the Republican Party, whichever president it is, you don't have immunity. You go to a bar as president, you get into a fight with somebody and you stab them or you shoot them, you don't have immunity. But if you kill an enemy of the state, you have immunity. I think that's what the July 1st decision was saying.
But then who will they determine is the enemy of the state?
Well, the president says that person is the enemy of the state. And if you, literally you, don't agree with it, you can take them to court and court and court, and it goes up, and someone has to decide who the enemy is and who the enemy isn't. It's not left with the president to decide that. It's left with the Supreme Court. Eventually, this, it goes from state to federal, etc. It's left with the judiciary to decide who and who isn't an enemy of the state. But if we're saying that we're going to get to a place, or we're already at the place, that you can make Harris the enemy of the state, and therefore she can become a target, an assassination target of the FBI at the behest of the sitting president, the Supreme Court didn't give immunity for that. We might say, well, all the gloves are off and, anything can happen, but they never said that. And it's beyond speculation to suggest that they did. What they did say was, yep, when you're a sitting president, you can kill people, but only certain types of people.
But we know where that would lead, Elder Parminder. You could see the writing on the wall.
What they're saying is that that position has been the one since, we'll go back to 1776. It's always been there. It's nothing new. Was it legal for America to stand up, and I can't remember the name of the English king, but to stand up against England and say, we will now resist? Was it legal for them to do that?
No, it was a rebellious act.
It was illegal. It was illegal because America was part of the British Empire. So what does America do? They say, we will do something illegal. We will rebel against you, and we're going to start up our own country, our own nation. And as soon as they do that, one of the things that they say is, now it's legal for us to kill our enemies. And that's why Washington and all the other people were killing English soldiers ad hoc at any opportunity. Was it legal then for them to do that?
Well, I want to say no.
But you have to say yes.
But you have to say yes. That's the tough part.
Well, we have to distinguish between the rise and fall of nations and the kingdom of heaven. A country declares independence, and it then has to create laws, and those laws say we can now kill enemies of the state. In fact, we're duty bound to do that. So it's what the position 2024 July 1st stated wasn't anything new. It was, when you're, say today, if you said, I don't know who you consider an enemy of the United States to be, some leader across the world, you don't have the right to hire an assassin and kill them. If you got caught, you'd be put into prison. But you would say, yeah, but they're an enemy of the state. And the judge would say, they are, but you don't have a right to kill them. And then you'd say, well, how comes the president does? And the judge would say, because the president has got, I think they use the word qualified immunity. In the president's job, part of their job function, their role is to seek and destroy, and if necessary, kill enemies of the state. But that's not your job. That's part of their job. And if they were to do that, they have immunity. But that doesn't give the president rights to do other illegal activities while they're sitting as a president. That was my understanding of the July 1st decision.
You are always much brighter than myself, Elder Parminder, but I was viewing it that because they couldn't prosecute him for any of the
Who can't?
The judicial system.
The federal cases or the state cases that were underneath, that were ongoing, those judges then make a decision. We will not prosecute. Why did they make that decision?
Well, after he won, now they're withdrawing their cases.
Sure. The reason they're doing that is because they see that it's not in the public interest for them to do that. It's not an indication of whether or not he committed a crime or not. It's about doing things in the public interest. And I'm not sure if I think most European and American law is pretty much the same, that when the DA, the district attorney, which is basically the government, when they're going to do a criminal case against somebody, is it always based upon whether a crime was committed or not? Is that always the criteria? Is that the only criteria? Let me put it that way. And the answer is no. It's not the only criteria. One of the major criteria that in England, it's called the Crown Prosecution Service, and I can't remember what it's called in America, but we'll call it the DA. They have to decide whether or not it's in the public interest to take the person to court. And if they decide it isn't, even if the person is guilty, they won't prosecute them. So these lower judges have come to a decision that it's not in the public interest to pursue these cases, especially now that he is going to become the president. And even before that, many of them said, now we're in a place that there is no public interest to prosecute him on these cases, seeing as the Supreme Court has clarified this situation. Now, those judges, some of them were Republican judges, and some of them were Democrat judges. Some of them were fair, some of them were unfair. Some of them were pro-Trump, some of them were anti-Trump. So they all have their different motivations and reasons for doing so. But the ones that ended up, for good reasons, not prosecuting, did so because they realized it's not in the public interest to do so. The other ones just got looked at as an excuse. What's unfortunate, I think, is there was a confluence of events that all occurred in the summer of 2024 that led us to this place. I think that, to me, that is the biggest story.
But wasn't that all the agitation of the Sunday law?
Okay, so I'm going to say yes. Let me put it, let me phrase it a different way. There's an agitation that's happening. And Trump's mantra has been for a long time that all these prosecutions, how did he phrase it? What did he say? These prosecutions are all what?
Witch hunt.
All the, he put them all together, all the indictments. He said they're all politically motivated. Isn't that what his argument was? All the time.
Yes.
Okay. And Biden said it's not. Who owns the Justice Department? Who's the boss of the Justice Department? It's not a trick question.
president.
Merrick Garland?
Biden. Yes, you're correct, but his boss is Biden. Biden owns everything, runs everything, and Biden says they're an independent department, and I don't tell them who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. If Garland is going after you, they're going after you because of the facts. And Trump would argue, no, they're not. They're going after them because you've instructed Garland to do so. Now, my point in all of that isn't that Biden did instruct him to do that, or he didn't. That's not my point. But I think I've already brought this point up before in the presentation. I think I was reading an article. The Democrats were more than happy to have all this mud thrown at Trump. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Do we agree that Biden, when he said all these legitimate, real cases are all coming up and they're all being thrown at Trump, was Biden happy? Were the Democrats happy?
That seemed to be more
Yes.
like
Yes.
held
So-
accountable.
Yes.
So if they're happy, were the Republicans happy? No.
No.
So when we say that the Democrats were happy because he was now called to account, why aren't the Republicans happy that he's now being called to account? Is it that Democrats are more righteous and honorable people than Republicans? I don't think we can really say that in all honesty. What I would venture to say is that whether or not Biden instructed the Justice Department to go after Trump or not, Biden was happy for that to happen. And that happiness is a political issue, not a moral one. And even though Trump's arguments were fallacious, that they're after me for political reasons and he's instructing them, whether or not that was all false, and I'm sure it was false, the truth of the matter is that the Democrats were happy to see all of this happening because they saw it as a means to bring down Trump. And why were they happy to see that as a means of bringing Trump down? There was a problem in America over the past 4 years, which is what? I'll answer it myself. The problem was that the Democrats could not do several things. One of them is they couldn't fix America. They said they would, and they were unable to do it. And so what they ended up doing was, what any politician would do, would try to make the enemy look bad, which is make Trump look bad. And when these cases began to come up, they were more than happy because this was the only leverage that they had with the American people to make Trump look bad, make Biden look good, and therefore, at that level, it was politically motivated. And then what ends up happening is, instead of making Trump look bad, what does it end up doing?
They made themselves look bad.
Yes, exactly that. They make themselves look bad. It's not just
Exactly.
It's not just that Trump's followers are going to rally around him and make him look like a victim. So Gino said the victim. All that is true, but it actually made the Democrats look bad. It made the Democrats look dirty. And that, combined with the fact that they couldn't straighten America out, and I've listed in some articles the various things that they got wrong, you can see that all of this all snowballed into this great catastrophe that we call the agitation to the Sunday law. And I think July 1st is part of that. Because if something had happened and it was Biden that was under attack, the Supreme Court would have come, I think, to the exact same decision. That a sitting president has immunity to, we'll call it, defend America at all costs. That's their job function. But they don't have immunity to kill their political enemies or to kill someone, an American citizen. They're not above the law at that level, but they are above the law, if we can put it that way, when it comes to fighting against American interests, even if that means kill orders. And my taking of July 1st was, it was a reasonable decision. In fact, it was the only decision that SCOTUS could have made under the circumstances. And the tragedy of all of this is the case should never have gone to SCOTUS. If it hadn't have gone to SCOTUS, there wouldn't have been this issue. But as soon as things have been clarified, then these issues become politically toxic. And how did it ever get to SCOTUS? It got to SCOTUS because the Democrats, or the left, were pushing this issue over and over again. And I think, regardless of the morality of the cases, the legality of the cases, the wrongness of what Trump had done, there was a political element to all of this. That the Democrats were rubbing their hands and saying, Trump is going to look so bad to so many people, there's no way that reasonable people would vote for him. That was their ticket. And history proved them wrong. Okay. Having said all of that, Gloria, could I ask you, you said 2024 is the whole year. Could you comment a little bit on that?
How about starting with the risk that you put on the media broadcast from the Bremer?
Yes, Ian Bremer. Explain that a little bit.
That 2024 was the year that there will be the most elections being held.
The year of the elections. Mm-hmm.
And he also predicted Trump winning the presidency.
Okay. I'm not trying to pin you down. Do you have any events that you would begin that at, besides the ones that we've got on already, besides the July and November? If we're going to say 2024 as a whole year.
And there was mentioning of the Project 2025, right? Beginning of the year, that was brought up.
Project 2025. Anything else? When you say the 10 risks, are you specifically targeting that it's the year of elections?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to put January 24. I'm not saying that I don't think you're indicating a specific date, are you? Unless I've misunderstood you. Is that right? You're not looking at specific events.
Yes, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just trying to line up with what Elder tested in 2014, because she considered the whole year as Sunday law.
So do you think that the Sunday law ends in 24?
Not at this point. Yeah, I think it's going to carry on to 2025.
Okay. So the Sunday law begins in 24 and it continues.
Yes.
And then you'd put July, November, January, like this.
Yes, when Trump takes the presidency and he will pass all the laws there.
And the loud cry would come sometime after that, all of that?
Yes.
And you base this model on the 2014 model. Is that correct? Is that what you understand? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a thought on what the Sunday law waymark is? Because based upon that, it seems like you don't. If I were to say, what's the Sunday law waymark?
I don't have a specific date. Yeah.
Okay. I guess a waymark as opposed to a date.
No, I don't have a waymark. Yeah.
Okay. So does anybody else have any thoughts?
Troy had a question in the chat.
Oh. Who was that speaking, sorry?
Linda.
You should read out the question. Read out the question. There's several. I haven't seen them all.
Okay. Elder Parminder, I vaguely remembered a message you shared on the media broadcast, I believe, stating something along the line that the entire year of 2024 is midway. You remember that statement? What did that mean?
Yes. That was it was sometime during ICM, and there was some discussion going on, and I think it was at ICM. I flippantly put that on, and I didn't. It was half in jest.
It was October 22nd.
Is that at ICM or not?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I thought. So that was half sort of flippant, half not. I'm almost reticent to make a statement on that. The entire year of 24 is midway. So I think the way the question is, the way Troy's put it is, I made a statement that 2024 is midway. Yeah, I said that. And I said it in the sense of the entire year. So I wanted to make the point that 2024, which is, I think, very similar to what Gloria has basically stated, that 2024 is significant. It's a significant year. And I noticed, I think, quite early on in our chat for this meeting, someone mentioned, I think Troy mentioned Elder Tess. This was about 10:30, about half an hour into our study, about 20 minutes into our study. And so I can't remember the context of that. And I think it's to do with elections. I think I was asking a question about elections, which would have been here. Voting decision, everybody here. I asked, where did this idea about voting come up? And I think someone said, I think it was Troy said, Elder Tess brought that point up. And I think quite some time ago, even before January, Elder Terry had either said in a meeting or put up an article somewhere that discussed that 2024 was the year of elections. I don't know if that was either a foreign policy document or from Time Magazine, one of the two, I think it was. So I was just making that point that it seems to me that both the movement and the world are coalescing around this 2024 period of time as the Sunday law history, without me defining or getting into what specific date it was or was not. So I hope that answers that question. Gloria, you've gone back to 2014, then said Elder Tess said that without defining a particular start point, that 2024, she lists numerous events that happened. She says when you get all of those, they cluster around what she would then define as the Sunday law history of 2014. The Sunday law that we currently have now, on the line of 144,000, the Sunday law that Ellen White speaks about, do you think we should be seeking for a waymark?
Yeah.
You mean like a period in time, or is that what you're asking?
A waymark itself as opposed to a period. So Elder Terry has said July 18 is, I've said 18, she would have officially said 15 to 18, but to me the logic takes you to 18, that is the Sunday law. And whether she said it explicitly or not, I've understood that to mean in this picture here, that instead of it being November the 5th, it would be July 18, that would be the waymark that begins the Sunday law. It's definable, it has characteristics about it, it's an event, and after that, the Sunday law dispensation begins and various things happen. The ones that are, the obvious ones would be November 5th. I can't remember what date is in January when they have the voting. The first week of January, I think it is, and then January the 20th, and you move forward from there. So she would mark that waymark as the beginning, which is something that Elder Tess, I believe, didn't do for 2014. So my question is that something that we should be doing for this Sunday law? Do we expect to have a waymark that we would gravitate to and say, this is the beginning?
No, I think we should just be objective and not have a date per se. Yeah, we shouldn't be in the subjective, but objective about the Sunday law waymark.
When you say objective and subjective, to have a beginning waymark, is that objective or is that subjective? I wasn't sure of your term objective.
Would be subjective if we have a per se a certain waymark. Yeah.
And why is it objective just to have the year? Why is that not subjective?
Because we're just mentioning the whole period of time and the whole year of 2024.
And what's the objectivity in that? compared to a specific waymark?
Because that's the way elder tested back in 2014.
Okay, so you're saying because it was done that way then, it has to be done that way now.
Yes, she defines doctrine, so we should follow her structures.
So when Aaron last week said November the 5th is the beginning of the Sunday law, that's subjective and he's not following that doctrine?
Yes.
Yes, he isn't. He's not following the doctrine that, or the principles or the rules that Elder Tess has laid down.
You sound scared, Gloria. You don't need to be scared. Go ahead.
Well, in our conversation with my personal conversation with Elder Parminder was that he wanted people to more mention, not with a personal, personal bias, but sort of be objective about everything. So, yeah, I'm just relating our conversation there.
I only mention names because if people have made a statement, then people can refer back to a presentation, etc. So, with the same reasoning, then you would disagree with Elder Terry's logic that it would be July 18 as well.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why have you gravitated to voting? Where did you get the idea that voting is Sunday law?
The waymark of 272, where Elder Tess puts as Quintus Maximus Gurgis, Quintus Gurgis Maximus, Quintus Gurgis Fabius Maximus Gurgis. Is it Quintus? Is it Quintus Gurgis Max? Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call it the name of a general. Why does the name of the general say that the definitive marker for the Sunday law of prophetic history is voting?
The word in the Fabius comes from the fava beans.
Okay, so you're just going to pick up the word bean. So you're going to take the name of a general which has got a bean in it, and that bean was used to vote. That's it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you're happy that that logic is strong enough to make voting the criteria or the marker for Sunday law?
And all the history that surrounds it with the voting suppression and all the changing of the, voting laws. Yeah.
What suppression? Which year are you talking about when you're talking about voting suppression?
This year, 2024.
Oh, they've suppressed votes. Is that what you mean? They've done some voting suppression?
Yeah, the gerrymandering. Yeah, all the gerrymandering that they did.
Who invented gerrymandering? That's a trick question. It's the Democrats. They're the ones that started all this gerrymandering off right at the very beginning. And the Republicans just got better at it. vote. I wonder why we call it voter suppression when it's just voter restriction or voter. It's not a proper sentence. It's voter harder to
Dilution.
vote. Dilution.
Yeah.
Okay. I was told I've only got an hour and a half, and I've already gone 20 minutes over. I want to apologise. So I want to call it an end to our meeting, because otherwise we'll go on. And I want to apologise. I want to summarise. So I had a question about what is the Sunday law waymark, and I don't think I really want to make a statement on what the Sunday law waymark is. We had 4 positions. 3 of them are specific dates, and one of them is just the year 2024. And as we went through this, we had a discussion about the difference between the beginning of the Sunday law dispensation and the history itself, what that beginning would be. One person changed from it being November to July based upon that model. So we had a discussion on that. We spoke about the swelling of the message. That message is specifically the Sunday law message. Some people would call it the message of the third angel, which nobody spoke about, but we could speak about it that way. It seems to me, however we understand what these waymarks are or are not, we are not at the loud cry. November the 5th doesn't have the characteristics of being a loud cry. One of the reasons is because to give a loud cry, it must have had some increase of knowledge before that, and it had to have a starting point. And this movement still isn't in a unified voice about when the Sunday law actually began. So I don't think November was the loud cry. I don't think we're at the loud cry yet, regardless of whether or not we're going to be crying to anybody. We spoke about July 1st, the SCOTUS decision about qualified immunity and what that meant. And I'm not saying I'm correct, but my understanding of that case is that SCOTUS was pushed into a position that the only thing that they could have done, the only decision they could have made is the one that they did make, was basically presidents have immunity, but it's qualified. And the qualification is you can kill enemies of the state legitimately as the president, but you just can't kill your political enemies, or you can't just commit crimes. So there was that. Oops. And then we spoke lastly about whether or not 2024 as a year begins the Sunday law. And if it does, how we would begin to mark that off. Because if we do as what most people are currently doing in our movement, we pick up voting as the marker or the thread of the Sunday law, then we'd have to look at this Sunday law history and pick themes that speak about voting. The earliest one, according to the study that Elder Terry has given, would be July 18, which is why she has picked that as the start date for this Sunday law. Aaron has picked November the 5th, again, based upon voting. And some people are looking to, I can't remember the exact date that it is in 2025, but the first week of January, and its connecting date, January the 20th, the inauguration, which is when the first week of January, when the Electoral College votes to validate or rubber stamp the election results, basically. So those 3 waymarks we have on the board here, which is 1, 2, 3, I'll put the date connected with that, first week of January. They are all connected with voting. seem to me, if we're going to pick up 2024 as the year of the Sunday law, with its connection to voting, that we'd want to see if there's something that precedes July in order to bring 2024 as the year of elections. Just based upon what Gloria said, we could keep 2024 as the year, and we could begin it in July, even though if you go back to 2014, Elder Tess didn't pick a specific starting waymark for that year. She just said it in generic terms, because she never focused upon the very first event that she lists, because she does list several events and they're all in chronological or date order. You could just go to the first one and you could say that would begin the 2014 Sunday law. Just because she didn't do that, you have to ask yourselves, does that mean we shouldn't be doing that now? And the reason why we pick voting as the theme is based upon that Roman general's name, based upon a word in his name that is to do with the fava bean. The fava bean was used as a symbol of voting in that era, and we all know that the name of that general is all connected to July 18 as well. So that's just a brief summary of what we spoke about. I apologize for taking so long. I'm going to wish everybody a happy Sabbath.
Thank you, Elder Parminder. We really appreciate your time and going over this with us.
Thank
Elder
you very
Parminder,
much.
would you like to close in prayer?
Yes, let's close with prayer.
Thank you.
Holy God, I want to thank you for your goodness and mercy. You know that each of us want to search for the truth. We want to have a clearer understanding of what it is that you are doing here on earth. Many of us have questions about why we are so far down this path, and yet we still don't seem to have unity within our ranks. Help each of us, individually and collectively, not only to understand the truth, to come to a position of unity and consensus, but to understand our role in prophetic history, to understand what it is that you have designed for us, have designed for your creation, so that we might fulfill the role that you have given to us. Be with us, bless us, and guide us. In Jesus' name, amen.